Hello, welcome to this video that is going to be my entire book slash novel collection. I don't know how many people wanted to see this, but I just woke up this morning and really wanted to film it. My book collection is very modest in my opinion, definitely compared to my manga collection. And yeah, in this year 2024, I kind of just wanted to post whatever I want to post, whether it be journal related, book related, manga, so as you can see, my books are in a different location than my manga, so I apologize for any weird audio if you can hear my fridge running. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'll show all my books. My book collection is also very curated to stuff I like. The way I collect books is I usually read them from the library and then I buy the physical copy if I really liked it. But I'll also show my TBR of books I've collected from thrift stores, book sales, my local used bookstore, stuff like that. And I also have a really easy time getting rid of books for some reason. Maybe because I do collect in this way where I usually read them for free first. I'm not sure, but I wish I was this way with my manga, to be honest. That, for some reason, I can never let go of anything. But the books, for some reason, I can. So, let's just go through. They're not really organized in any particular way. I kind of just have them hardback to paperback by size a little bit. I don't think it really matters because I don't have that many books. So starting on the left here, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, one of my favorite books, a sci-fi one about a guy who wakes up and he's in the middle of space and kind of has to figure out his way home. And I really like the writing. It's very dry, pretty witty, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the most popular books from a couple years ago, so I'm sure many people have read it. Since I am relatively new to reading also, I do read a lot of popular stuff that I see in videos. I'm very easily persuaded, so I might not have too many hidden gem type things, but I can confidently recommend everything on here. Next we have Last Night at the Telegraph Club. This is a sapphic historical fiction young adult novel that I really enjoyed. It gave me the butterflies, the romance is so cute. Some of the historical elements weren't my most favorite thing, but the story is very nice and I highly recommend. Then we have The Serpent King, which is another one of my favorite books. Very sad, kind of just a story of these teenagers in this small town and their lives. I'm not sure what I would consider my favorite genre, I guess. It's a little bit all over the place, but I do like, I guess, contemporary fiction, stories about real people, drama, romance, that kind of thing. I don't have a lot of fantasy, horror, but I do like stories that could be about real people, if you know what I mean. Next we have Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This one is a mystery thriller about these teenagers going on a road trip and they get stranded and someone's out to get them, so they kind of have to figure this all out in the span of a day, which I think was a pretty interesting narrative structure. And then we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is actually the book that kicked off my new found resurgence love for reading, I guess. I had eye surgery and I needed an audiobook, and I just looked up popular audiobooks and this is the one that popped up and I gave it a listen and it's been all uphill from there, I guess. But Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is also kind of this historical-ish fiction book about this kind of movie star from the past, and it's just her retelling of her life and all of her adventures in Hollywood and kind of the dark side of the entertainment industry, stuff like that. I do really like stories about rich people and famous people, and I don't know, to me that reads as fantasy as opposed to, dragons and witches and that kind of stuff. I will eat up anything about delusional rich people or satire in that nature. I love it. I used to have all the Crazy Rich Asian books. I don't know why I got rid of them. I like the series a lot. I just couldn't find myself rereading them, so I gave those away. But that is also in my realm of tastes, I guess. Delusional, dramatic, rich people problems. And then we have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book was just highly relatable to me for some reason. It's about a girl who is starting college and she's kind of an outcast. She kind of reverts back into her kind of fictional world, online stan life type thing. It's pretty meta. I didn't know the author was controversial when I read it, but this book is I don't know. It hit in all the right places for me on the relatable level, and that's why I still have it. But I won't read any of the other sequel ones, I guess. In the book, she's writing a fan fiction about this other fictional book, and they made those books real. But yeah, I'm content with having Fangirl. Next, we have The Help, which is kind of random. That was probably like one of my favorite books I read in high school, so I kept it as like a memento. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what The Help is, but I don't know, I had a really hard time in high school English. I just didn't like any of the books we were reading. I had some bad English teachers, and that kind of like killed my love for reading. Like in middle school, I love reading growing up, but when I hit high school, it kind of just like diminished everything. And then in college, I have a degree in Spanish, and we were reading also these other books like Don Quixote. I was like, I don't like these books. So now that I'm past that and get to pick like my own stuff, I'm very happy about it. But yeah, I just kept The Help as kind of like a memento of that time. The dark high school academia book reading years. Maybe if I go back and read some of those, I would like them now as an adult, not pressured to like write essays and take notes and be part of like Socratic seminars and all that crap. Like maybe I would like them without the pressure, but I don't know. Sometimes I see people reading like Crime and Punishment for fun, and I'm like, why? Like that was like torture in high school. But anyways, next we get to my section of my favorite author, Frederick Backman. I have A Man Called Ove, which is like a story about a kind of curmudgeon old guy kind of getting back on his feet slash warming up to his neighbors and stuff like that. Then we have Beartown and Us Against You. Ooh, these are flipped. But Beartown is my most favorite book ever. Love Beartown. It's a story about this, small town obsessed with hockey and kind of the turmoil that the town goes through when like one of their star hockey players does something irredeemable in most people's eyes. But it's kind of like, yeah, like who takes priority? Who do we care about more? Like, will we forgive this for the sake of like the sports? And yeah, lovely. Us Against You is the sequel, lovely as well. I haven't read the winners yet because I'm saving it for a rainy day, but I do have it and we'll show that in my TBR section, I guess. Then we have Anxious People. This was the first Frederick Backman book I read and I was like blown away. Kind of a little bit of a mystery character study about these characters that get locked in this apartment, and I just love it. Love it. Britt Marie Was Here was okay in my opinion. It's kind of like a similar one to A Man Called Ove, but I've been told I was supposed to read another book first before I read this, so maybe I would have liked it better if I did read the other one first, but still good. Curmudgeon kind of lady starting over in a small town, having to bring the town back up together, that stuff. I love it. I love it all. And then we have another one of my favorite series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then the sequel, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and there's one more book that I haven't read. Do we see a trend? I like to save the last ones for a rainy day, but this one is a YA thriller mystery one about a girl who decides to kind of investigate a local mystery for her senior project and gets involved deeper than she was intending, and yeah, it's great. Highly recommend. Then we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This one is just a nice kind of a little bit of rivals to lovers one. It's about these two book editors who find themselves in a small town and have the summer romance type vibe. I guess I also have a trend of liking small town type stuff because the next one, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, is also another small town romance. It's about this photographer from New York and she has to go home back to the small town for her stepsister's wedding, but she has a really like kind of a strange relationship with this family. But one of her stepsister's best friends catches her eye and they kind of have a romance, and it's really cute in my opinion. I actually just read the sequel to this one about the stepsister, and I didn't like it as much, but there's one more book in the series that I will read also. So what I'm trying to say is Delilah Green Doesn't Care is great as like a standalone piece, I guess. But we'll see once I read the third book. Next we have Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This is another one that I found like really relatable, like fangirl for some reason. It's about a girl who is a big fan of this podcast and she draws fan art for the podcast, and once she meets like the creator of the podcast, they kind of form a partnership slash relationship, and yeah, I really liked it. Then we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, the same author as Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've also read a couple of her other books, but Daisy Jones and the Six was a standout one to me. It's about kind of like a fictional band and all their messy drama and happenings on the road. So another like rich people, famous people problems one. Then we have a couple Sally Rooney books. We have Normal People and Conversations with Friends. Her writing definitely scratches that itch of mundane, kind of just boring daily life type stuff that I really like in fiction. If you are familiar with manga, it is like slice of life vibes to me, which I love as a genre. So it makes sense that it would kind of mirror in my book reading. But Normal People is about kind of these two in a relationship. It's advertised as kind of like class prosperity commentary, I think. Like, the guy is like pretty poor and his mom works as the housekeeper for the girl. But I think it's kind of just about these two in a relationship and navigating a relationship. They kind of go from high school to college, and, issues come with that. And then Conversations with Friends is about a girl kind of in a relationship with an older man who's married and kind of exploring some things about that. And then we have something totally different, The Martian by Andy Weir. This is my first Andy Weir book I read. Then I read Project Hail Mary, so I don't know which I like better. They're kind of similar, but they're both really good in my opinion. The Martian is about a guy who gets stranded on Mars and has to find his way back home. So instead of like deep space, he's on Mars. And it's very entertaining. I think The Martian is funnier than Project Hail Mary. It's also shorter, but it's a good time as well. And speaking of like not really a good time, The Song of Achilles! I was actually just talking about this with my coworker yesterday, but this is a very sad retelling, loose retelling of the Iliad. So be warned, very good, but very sad. And then we have The Vanishing Half, which is kind of a like family drama, covers topics about race and kind of belonging. And it read like a thriller to me. I don't know, I could not put this book down, so I recommend it. And next we have Far From the Tree, which is my favorite book from 2023. I talked about it in my reviewing about all the books I read in 2023. This is another family drama, heartbreaking, heartwarming, bittersweet, about a girl who was adopted and her reconnecting with her biological siblings. Next to that we have Battle Royale, which is a brutal thriller, borderline horror, gory story similar to Hunger Games about like all these kids who have to be put in a battle to the death. And it's really good, it's really long. It inspired the manga, and the manga's out of print, so I was like, oh, let's just read the novel. And I'm very glad I did, but it's a lot. Then the last book that I have read is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This is a kind of novella about a woman who works at basically a 7-Eleven, and she doesn't really understand why people look down on her for this and are like just hounding her, like, why don't you have a boyfriend? Where's your husband? Like, you didn't go to college. Why are you still working at this grocery store? And yeah, I think it's a really good like little social commentary in my opinion. So yeah, that is all the books I've read that I love, that I recommend, other than, like maybe The Help, because that was just like a memento book. But now I'll show my TBR. I can't imagine like all these books staying in my collection. Again, these are ones I kind of just picked up based on recommendations, or I recognize the author, or they were in like a popular section at the used book sale. I don't know. So let me know what I should read from this next. This year I want to read all these books. I think I can do it if I stop going to the library so much, or if like you see any of these that were like absolutely terrible and I should just like get rid of now and don't even try, let me know on that also. So first we have some like sequels that I'm definitely going to read, just need to have the right moment for it, like The Winners. Like I'm probably just gonna reread Beartown and Us Against You before I get to that, but yeah, I need to carve out some time for that. A Scatter of Light is the sequel to Last Night at the Telegraph Club, and then As Good as Dead is the last book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy, and then Killjoy is like a little 0.5 novella that is a companion piece that I will also read. So yes, these ones are staying, I will read them eventually. Then we have some books from authors I have read from before, like In the Wild Light, the same author as The Serpent King, A Deal of a Lifetime, and My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Backman. I think this is the one that I was supposed to read before Britt Marie was here. Then we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I read The Paris Apartment. I thought it was okay, but my library had this for $1.50, so I figured it wouldn't hurt. I know that one is pretty popular. Then we have The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I loved The Secret History. I need to buy it for my collection, but The Goldfinch is the author's previous work, I believe, and it's very intimidating, very long. I think the audiobook's like 40 hours, but I'm really intrigued. It's another like satirical rich people type beat, I think. Then One Last Stop. This is by the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, and then I Kissed Shara Wheeler, which I read both of those, and I enjoyed both of them, so curious to read this one. And then we have Circe by Madeline Miller, the author of The Song of Achilles, which I think is a Odyssey retelling. And I have read the original Odyssey like in school, so I think I have more context for this one than I did Song of Achilles, but I really like Song of Achilles, so we'll see if it measures up. Next we have some books that were recommended to me by close friends. I'll Give You the Sun. I actually read like the first chapter of this, but I wasn't in the mood for it, so I'll get back to it eventually. History Is All You Left Me, We Are Okay, Cemetery Boys, and A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. So yes, these are recommendations from people like I trust in my real life, so I hope that I like them. And then we kind of just have a mishmash of other stuff that I saw that was cheap, that looked interesting, or I had heard some hype about, or my mom gave them to me because she thought I would like them. We have Crying in H Mart, Lessons in Chemistry. My mom gave me this one. Everything Leads to You. This is the same author as one of the other ones my friend recommended. In the Event of Love, The House on the Cerulean Sea, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. My mom gave me this one too. I am like a microbiologist as my day job, so she thought I'd like it because it's, about Henrietta Lacks. And then One of Us is Lying, The Bride Test, and The Heart Principle. I think I picked up this one and I didn't know it was like part of a series. I think The Bride Test is the first book, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. So that is like my TBR. Let me know what I should read next. I'm currently reading the Inheritance Games from the library because I was in that kind of like dystopian mood, but I'm open to any of these, obviously, since I own them already. And then the last thing I will show you, I don't know if it was kind of peeking out at the top here, but I will show you my childhood book collection that I have kept. So as I said, I was an avid reader as a child, and I have all these books still. And I keep them because, I don't know, I think it might be kind of fun to revisit them one day, kind of see what I was into. This is not all that I used to have. These are just ones that like I knew kid me really, really liked. So they must have been at least a little bit good. I don't know. But of course we have Twilight. I was a Twilight girly. I have like weird editions. I wish I had ones that matched a little better, but like I was like in middle school and I could only afford the ones that were like at the thrift store. So I have like a paperback, like a movie version one, 2 hardbacks, I don't know. And then I have some like movie guide thing. Then I have the Immortals books. I really like those. I think it's like a vampire one. Same with The House of Night. I think I was reading them from the library and then like I started getting them as the new ones came out. I don't know if wherever y'all lived you had this bookstore, but we had one called Borders, and I have a lot of good memories just sitting in there reading, going to get like the new releases of these books. So yeah, I only have like a very vague working knowledge of what these are about. I think, yeah, House of Night is also a vampire one. I was in my vampire era as a middle schooler. And then I was also in my, dystopian kind of era. So that's my 2 like genres I was reading, vampire and dystopian. So we have Divergent, The Hunger Games. I was reading The Hunger Games like when they came out. They were the hot new thing. I think this was more like end of elementary school for me. So I don't know if any of that like matters, like first editions and all that stuff. I think I got those at the book fair. They got the Scholastic Press on them. But I still like Hunger Games to this day, so I definitely want to reread the book someday. Then we have Crossed and Reached, and I think there was like one other, like a green one. I might have had that one too. It's another like dystopian one. And then we have the Uglies series, Uglies Pretty Specials. I actually remember really liking those, so I think they would be worth a revisit also. I think the world is divided into like ugly and pretties. Yeah, kind of like, all these other things. Divergent, like in the different affinities or whatever. But it's a commentary on, beauty standards. So yeah, that is my whole collection. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, this was a very like impromptu, like I just wanted to film this for anyone who was curious. And yeah, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.